You said something is wrong with brothers who don't know how to support a sister.
Yeah. Full stop.
And Mordecai was man enough to know that in order for me to be a man, I got to know how to support a woman. Something is wrong with brothers who don't know how to support a sister.
This is Pastor Jamal Brant. Pastor Jamal Brant has a message for black men. Should I just say he's rehearsing a message that Obama had said to black men?
I also want to say that that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly.
And what you're about to hear is disrespectful, disturbing, coming from a minister. I am also a minister of the word. I'm very careful with name calling people because they believe different than I do. I'm very careful with that because I believe God's children are scattered everywhere, even the people I disagree with. Some of them God is working with. And the political views is not to be used as a reason to lambast them. There's more to humanity than their perception and what I agree or disagree with. That's my perspective. I could be wrong. But I want you to hear what this man says. And I want to respond to it in part. Let's take a listen.
You said something is wrong with brothers who don't know how to support a sister.
Yeah. Full stop.
And Mordecai was man enough to know that in order for me to be a man, I got to know how to support a woman. Something is wrong with brothers who don't know how to support a sister. It was a sister that raised you. It was a sister that taught you how to read. It was a sister that taught you how to bathe yourself.
In the context of the vice president, were you trying to send a message?
That we've got to be able to vote that misogyny is still real in our community. We've got to address it head on and not act like it doesn't exist. The reality is if black men had voted, Stacey Abrams would be a governor. And so I think that we've got to do some real redress that after racism, the biggest ill in America is sexism. And I think it's part of the responsibility of this generation to deal with it head on.
Wow. So according to this man's logic, black men who don't want to vote for Kamala Harris, something's wrong with them. What is that something that's wrong with them? Well, they're black and she is supposedly black, so they're not racist. They are misogynist. They are sexist.
And so I think that we've got to do some real redress that after racism, the biggest ill in America is sexism.
Really? Now, the problem with this, even Stephen A. Smith, who is a Kamala Harris supporter, even corrected Barack Obama, saying that how is black men sexist? How are black men sexist when the vast majority of them voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016?
And what you said is unacceptable. You see, what you're missing is that you're basically accusing black men who come up with a reason to not support Kamala Harris as engaging in misogyny. Whatever happened to disagreeing without being disagreeable, President Obama? What happened to that? All of a sudden, we want to challenge men and our love and our affection as black men for black women. We want to bring that into question because we've got an election coming up and people may have the temerity to think differently than you. It's because she's a woman that she's in danger of losing this election? Didn't Hillary Clinton win the popular vote in 2016? Didn't she get over 2.8 million more votes than Donald Trump in the popular vote for the 2016 election, last time I checked, she's a woman. Are we dare sitting here and implying that black men would be more apropos to support a white woman than a black woman? Is that what we're saying? Is that what we're saying? It's a rhetorical question because it makes no sense to me. Diminishing black voters, particularly black men, since you were in office. In 2008, 95% of the black populace voted for Barack Obama. It dipped in 2012 by about 6 to 8%. It dipped another 6% in 2016 when Hillary was running. It dipped even more in 2020 when Trump ran against Biden. It's been dipping since 2008. It didn't just start. Was that about misogyny? Was that about a hesitancy to support our women? I am getting sick and tired of black men being raked through the coals because of some imagery of not being supportive of black women. A black man asking, "What about us?" is not a crime. It's not misogyny. It's us exercising our rights as American citizens to question why you should have our support, which you yourself as the president for 8 years told us we had every right to do. That's all I'm going to say for now.
She's not black. She's white. She's a Democrat. And black men supported her. So if we were sexist, how do you explain that? Now, the insult coming from some of these ministers is problematic to me. You know, I remember I saw a video of Jamal Brant where he was, after Roe v. Wade was overturned, and he preached about women's right and their right to kill to abort the unborn. And after that, he had a baby dedication.
But I stand with now the living matriarch of the movement, Maxine Waters, who said they have declared war on 32 million women in this nation. And one thing about a woman, when she is focused, she is not going to stop until she gets what she needs. We stand, but we realize that this is not just a woman's issue. Proudly, we dedicate babies in our church. They're coming at this time because we believe that children are the future. But we also believe that mothers have the right to elect where it is that they are in the season and the stages of their life, and they should not be criminalized for making decisions that will best suit them for where it is that they are. As we're living in a world that is declaring war on women, we declare that God is going to make you fit for the battle.
Even Pastor Bishop Wooden called them out on that.
This is the same preacher one Sunday, while preaching in favor of a woman's right to choose. On that same Sunday, they had a christening, a child dedicating service. And people brought their children up to be dedicated by that preacher. But the preacher just got through preaching in favor of abortion. You gonna let those hands dedicate your child?
The perception of some of these men is very problematic to me. I can see why people stay away from the church, and a lot of black men don't want to come to church. Because that perception is twisted. First of all, let me answer this before I give a theological response. It could also be that black men are tired of being abused by the Democratic Party. That's why they're not voting for Kamala Harris. Maybe they don't want to vote for Kamala Harris because they know she's not real. Have you seen the video of Kamala Harris with all these different accents?
Have you no empathy, man? You know, for the suffering of other people. Have you no sense of purpose? Go to the clubs and hurt Father Seville.
Yeah.
You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time. Hello to all my divine nine brothers and sisters. God helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024. No one is alone. We are all in this together. Here's the thing. The courts are going to handle that. We're going to beat them in November. The thing that we like about hard work is we have fun doing hard work. Thank you to the sisters and brothers of UAW. I love you back.
So you think black men can't see this stuff? You think we don't know what's real and what's fake? You think we don't realize all of a sudden she became black? She was always Indian. Right, but she now, of course, okay, all right. She have a few drop bloods in her, so let's give her that. I don't want to make the skin color argument, but I will tell you, black men can tell an honest and real person from someone who's fake, who's dishonest. So it's not because she's a woman; it's just because we think she's fake. And the other thing is, her policies are horrible.
Black vote ain't for sale no more. Black vote ain't for sale. We bartering on business. We standing on business. Bring us some tangibles or get out of my face. Ricky Smiley, I love you. But crying on the radio for Kamala Harris, my brother, that's an all-time low. Don't do that again, Ricky Smiley. Don't you get on your radio show and cry for Kamala. Don't you do that, my brother.
Tonight, Kamala Harris releasing details of her policy positions for the first time on her campaign website. A K-file investigation has uncovered, meantime, a 2019 questionnaire. And in this questionnaire, Harris laid out some much more liberal stances.
Let's just take immigration and look at what she said here. She said on immigration, she made this open-ended pledge to end immigrant detention. She said she supported taxpayer-funded gender transition surgeries for detained migrants. She also said she
taxpayer-funded gender transition surgeries for detained migrants. She actually said she supported that.
She both wrote and answered in the affirmative when she was asked this.
It would be hard to think that you would come up with taxpayer funding gender transitions for detained migrants, and yet this, as you say, written and verbally.
And the Harris campaign didn't answer any questions from CNN. Instead, they just provided a statement from an unnamed Harris campaign advisor that just said, as president, she will take that same pragmatic approach, focusing on common sense solutions for the sake of progress. So where does she stand on this? All this questionnaire today, we don't know, and they won't say.
It's pretty incredible stuff.
When I was Attorney General, I learned that the California Department of Corrections, which was a client of mine, I didn't get to choose my clients.
Right. A client of the Attorney General.
A client of the Attorney General,
right.
Of the Office of Attorney General, that they were standing in the way of surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. And there was a specific case. And when I learned about the case, I worked behind the scenes to not only make sure that that transgender woman got the services she was deserving. So it wasn't only about that case. I made sure that they changed the policy in the state of California so that every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access to the medical care that they desired and need. And I believe it was not only, I know it was historic in California, but I believe actually it may have been one of the first, if not the first in the country, where I pushed for that policy in a Department of Corrections.
So you don't think we have this on record? I mean, this is what she advocates for. So it's not just because she's a woman we have an issue. No. We don't care about her gender. Her policies are disturbing. They are radicals. You can't tell me to vote into laws The individual who never considered policies that works for the American people even places the illegal migrants above the average American. When she was asked about this, and her answer was,
would you still advocate for using taxpayer dollars for gender reassessment surgeries?
I will follow the law, just as I think Donald Trump would say he did.
You would have a say as president.
Like I said, I think he spent $20 million on those ads, trying to create a sense of fear in the voters because he actually has no plan in this election that is about focusing on the needs of the American people.
But if black women think Kamala Harris is going to get in office and take care of them, if black women think Kamala Harris is going to get in office and take care of them, or they got something else coming. You know what she's going to take care of? Her East Indian immigrants. You think East Indian immigrants are already buying up a lot of the franchise restaurants and franchise stores? They're already buying up a lot of the hotel chains in America. Let Kamala Harris become vice president. By the time she's done, if she can get 8 years, by the time Kamala Harris is done being president of the United States of America, the East Indian people will be the priority minority in this country. Not the homosexuals, not black people, not Latinos. Let Kamala Harris get that White House. The East Indian American will be the priority minority by the time she leaves the Oval Office.
the same Kamala Harris also called for the defunding of the police, which placed more black community, minorities community in greater danger. That's what she advocated for during the George Floyd era.
So then if you're for overhauling, where do you stand on defund the police?
Look, right. So here's the thing. Defund the police. The issue behind it is that we need to reimagine how we are creating safety. And when you have many cities that have 1/3 of their entire city budget focused on policing, we know that is not the smart way and the best way or the right way to achieve safety. For too long, the status quo thinking has been you get more safety by putting more cops on the street. Well, that's wrong. Because, by the way, if you want to look at upper middle class.
So are we supposed to just forget about that?
You're never going to have it perfect. You're going to have a bad apple.
In everything, in every profession.
But every time there's a bad apple, that gets massive publicity, and it taints everybody else.
But it's also this very irresponsible thing where people say defund the police, get rid of the police. You know, even Kamala Harris was a part of that. That it's a very stupid way to look at it. What you should do is fund the police. You should have better training. You should have cops that feel more appreciated. You should have something that helps mitigate this PTSD that all of them suffer through.
Right. She was a big part of defund the police. That was a big thing for her. Defund the police. Always defund the police.
Well, it's a political idea,
but
right?
Anybody with that political thought, I don't think should be running for president. And I think people are getting wise to it. You know, we're doing pretty well now. I don't know. Maybe in a week from now, say, sorry about that, I was wrong. But we're leading everything. And I think we're going to have a very good election. But I tell people, because people are starting to get to know her. But she was defund the police. She was all these transgender operations. You know, if you wanted a sex change and you were in detention and you demanded a sex change, they would give you a sex change.
Well, the wildest one is this idea of giving free sex change to illegal immigrants.
That's right. In detention.
That is the wildest
But
thing.
she was,
is that the biggest problem you have?
Yeah.
You just walked here from Guatemala. You need to become a girl.
But she was in favor of it.
Yes.
So think of it. She changed. She changed 15 policies. In fact, I'm going to send her a MAGA cap.
She stole your idea about no tax for tips.
I came up with this idea that honestly nobody ever heard of. And now it took her 2 months, but you know what? All of a sudden,
it caught fire,
and she just put it into a little speech.
Yeah.
Well,
it became
but
popular.
I think we still have that issue. I think that issue is a good one for us.
So, and plus, let's not forget Kamala Harris' history in putting black men behind bars, separating them from their families, destroying black families and black communities over some of the most simplest thing, like having weed, you know, which I don't smoke, I don't need it, I don't care about that. But separating family over these things and truancy issues and stuff like that, this is what her record have shown.
Kamala Harris, she's running for the vice presidency.
I call her Miss Lock Up a Brother, for when she was the AG in California, a Negro knew, a black man knew that he was dead in the water. You might well go to jail if you appear before her, because she took pride in locking up black folk. And now all of a sudden she's trying to be sister girl. I'm telling it. Check out her record. She locked us up left and right. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Yes, you did, Kamala, however I should pronounce it, you did. She said, when the people show you who they are, believe them. That's Kamala. And let me tell you, anybody who's trying to turn America into Sodom and Gomorrah is not good for this nation, she's not good for the state, and she ain't good for black folk. We need husbands and wives. We need fathers. We need mothers. Men born male, women born female. We need real people. Wow!
Yeah, so you don't think black men are paying attention to these facts? These are the real reasons why black men are not going to support Kamala Harris. She's not real. She has a very terrible past. Her policies are radicals and completely deranged, extremely irrational. She has not really advocated for the black community in her past, but all of a sudden she's now black. Whatever. Let's work with that. And she's just supported the trans community. She placed the illegal migrants before everybody else. She left the borders wide open. But now if we don't vote for her, it's because we don't want to support a sister?
You said something is wrong with brothers who don't know how to support a sister.
Yeah. Full stop.
Are you out of your mind? Like, are we supposed to close our eyes to all these red flags? So are we supposed to just neglect all these serious factors that are on record regarding her policies? How are we supposed to just bow the knees at the altar of the melanin and worship the god of skin color and neglect all these other factors? Are you out of your mind?
And so I think that we've got to do some real redress. That after racism, the biggest ill in America is sexism.
Now let's respond to the theological claim that Pastor Jamal spoke about. He made mention of Esther and Mordecai.
And Mordecai was man enough to know that in order for me to be a man, I got to know how to support a woman. Something is wrong with brothers who don't know how to support a sister. It was a sister that raised you. It was a sister that taught you how to read. It was a sister that taught you how to bathe yourself.
So let's go to the Bible to see what the story was really about. Okay, the Jews in the time of Ahasuerus were in the kingdom of Persia. So a man by the name of Naaman got upset with Mordecai because Mordecai did not want to bow the knees to Naaman, who thought that he was something special, right? He thought he was a god. He deserved worship. As a result of that, he conspired with the king, not necessarily telling them who the Jews were, but he made it seem as though they were the enemy of the king in the hope to kill their lives, to destroy them. But the king had a wife named Esther, but he didn't know that she was a Jew. So she hid her identity. So she eventually managed to go in front of the king, which you were not allowed to do unless you were invited. So she had to risk her life to save the life of her people. And this is what you read in Esther chapter 4, verse 16. It says that, "Go gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan and fast for me," she said. So she asked for them to fast and pray for her as she goes to the king. Mordecai told her, "You must not be afraid. It is so happens that God has a purpose and a mission for you for such a time as this." Let's read it. "If thou altogether holdeth thy peace at this time, then shall the enlargement of deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" So Esther represents an individual who's willing to stand for a cause to save the life of human beings. How could you side with Kamala Harris when she has stood for the causes that ends the life of the unborn? This is a massive contradiction, at least an application of the text. Now, I know this is called typology. You know, typology are not meant to be exactly the same. They are only similar. So if you're going to make a typological application of this text in the light of Kamala Harris' administration, my dear friend, you just butchered the Bible. Anyway, I could say a lot more because I didn't hear the entire sermon, but I can only tell you, Esther is not Kamala Harris, and Kamala Harris could never be an Esther. At least not in her policies. No, my friends. Let's not confuse the matter. So we're not voting for Kamala Harris, not because she's a woman. It's because her policies are irrational. Give me Donald J. Trump.
And we will make America great again.